I unleashed 100 players into a free-for-all event. The only goal be the last one standing, and the only rule, do what it takes to survive. Who will be the one to come out on top of all other players and win this event? Watch to the end to find out. To start off, I let everyone slowly float down to the world. It was now them against 99 other players. And the last one standing wins. So what did they do? Punched a lot of trees. I mean, come on, it's the start of the video. However, most people progressed a lot faster than I expected. The event had just started and people were already in a cave mining for iron. And I'm pretty sure secret alliances were starting to form. However, for one quote-unquote team, things weren't going very well. We meet over on the ice, where multiple people were being chased by the mobs of the night. It looks like we might have some of the first deaths on the server from this chaos. And the voice call wasn't much better.
I'm dead! Sniper just died. No! Why did you let me die?
Seems as though this alliance didn't start off too hot, but others worked together to take control of the limited structures spawned in this world. Holding rights to the villagers could come in handy one day, but so could having the best armor, which is what most people are focused on this early in the event. However, some were more focused on food. Starting a beginner farm or making a small base by the border is probably the best thing for most teams, since some players don't want to become mass PvPers by the end of this. Although they could easily win the event by just teaming up and doing an FFA at the end, which is what it seems like this team is doing. And these guys are actually just these guys, but a little bit more coordinated. Hold up, this guy got diamond armor in 25 minutes? Oh, everyone else is dead. Well, at least some people are showing signs of diamond armor. Maybe they're not all toast. As teams left the caves, meeting up with their allies, one guy had an amazing plan ahead. He found a pillager outpost and was gonna spawn a raid at the village of an opposing team. That way, he might be able to get rid of a few players. However, before any of that could happen, he died to the pillagers, losing bad omen. Which means if that plan's ever gonna happen, his team's gonna have to carry it out for him. Speaking of teams, this guy lost everyone. Tango Mango was the sole survivor of the Ugandan gang, which was a team that was made about 4 minutes ago. Since everyone on his team was dead, I decided to give him a little bit of a proposition. If he made a 100 block dropper into a 1 block hole, I would revive one of his teammates. We'll see if he risks his life for someone he barely knows. While we ponder trying to bring someone back into the game, these guys have to ponder whether or not they can stay in the game. The village team seems to be running quite low on food and is doing every way, shape, and form to get more, including suffering with sweet berry bushes. But with access to villagers, they could solve their famine issue pretty quickly, as long as they know what they're doing. Or they could be like these guys at the border and start their own farm. Plus, these guys have already started making a house they're gonna survive in, unless something terrible happens to them. But just then, I found a super top secret base. This team might even rival the village, as they already have an underground farm, organization, and enchants, something no other team has accomplished just yet. So we might see some action from the dubbed Dwarven Miners. I also found another team whose entire goal is to recreate Stonehenge in Minecraft. It's an ambitious goal, especially in a free-for-all event, so I'm interested to see how this turns out, but it looks like they've already got a great start for a platform. Now, just to figure out how they're gonna get that much deep slate. Back at a familiar face, Tango Mango has decided to risk his life with a 100 block drop to save one of his teammates. So I made the 1 block hole and started typing the command. But when I hit enter, it just teleported him to me. At that point, Tango Mango saw his opportunity, walked over to the hole, and jumped in. I'm pretty sure I just got outsmarted on this one, but I stayed true to my word and brought back his teammate Kiddo, so now he's not too lonely over here on the edge of the border. Speaking of lonely, it looks like Dwarven Miners have a lot more people than I expected. And they're all almost full diamond enchanted, which means they could easily take over the village if they wanted. But their organized base kind of looks peaceful. I don't know if they want to make it chaotic yet. At that exact time, Village decided to reclaim their spot as number 1 by getting enchants, which is something no other team has done other than the Dwarven Miners. I think that's just because people can't find cows anywhere. But with their village overrun with enchants and people still down in the mines getting more diamond armor, I think we can see the village at the top of the rungs again. However, one solo player decided he wanted to take on the entirety of Village by targeting their most powerful member. This guy went unseen the entire video just to show up with a popped god apple and multiple dogs for the fight. LFC started off strong, using an axe to get rid of Death's shield, but with the dogs constantly attacking him, he had to push the fight into the water, where he was able to use his bow to keep distance. However, Death was persistent and eventually switched his sword to an axe to also disable shields. At that point though, LFC was able to trade hits pretty consistently and Death backed up to eat a regular golden apple. At that point, he had just refreshed his absorption and was able to head into the fight once more. But LFC found his way into a boat and started heading back towards the village. Death, knowing he doesn't have the gear to take on multiple people, decided to back up for now. However, I see this fight as far from over. LFC grabbed the remainder of his team to go hunt Death down. His journey led him towards the ice, but instead of going on it for faster travel, he decided to go a different direction, hoping that other players would follow the ice as it seems more logical. At the same time of Death's escape, Stonehenge could possibly be under attack. I went to go check on the progress, which is looking pretty good so far, and stumbled upon the meeting between two separate clans. However, since the Stonehenge boys are pacifists, they worked out a deal with the upcoming team. They figured it'd be best to partner with each other to protect Stonehenge till the end of the video. Plus, more hands the merrier to build this thing. Then we cut to the village team, chasing the fastest boatman alive. He managed to escape the assailants, but ended up running into another team. This man was just happily bringing a sheep back to his clan. Even though he was in the clear, he decided to turn back around just to annoy this man. That sheep he was bringing back for infinite beds was slaughtered instantly. I have never seen a more menacing man. After that, we cut to a player who stumbled upon Kiddo and Tango Mango's old base. It seems as though they were overrun by mobs and had to abandon ship, but Exern found it and was attacked by all of said mobs. At one point, he had to stick himself in a hole and was super close to dying. I see now why they abandoned this place. Also, hint for later, Lit Gamer just left the Pillager outpost and was on the team of the original guy with Bad Omen. We'll see where that leads us. Speaking of his team, Soulslayer, the guy with a sheep, has just run up on their base. He came into a 1v1 with Aqua Knight, who actually gave him a pretty decent run for his money. However, Aqua was not able to escape after popping his gap and died to Soulslayer. Then Soulslayer was actually able to infiltrate their base. He took everything of value, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like Cactus Cult is coming back here. I want to go check on the progress of Stonehenge, and that's exactly when I found Kiddo killing the Stonehenge builders. I guess we finally found where they went off to. However, one thing that they didn't know was that two teams had actually teamed up to build Stonehenge, so there was more than just this guy. His fellow teammates emerged from their caving adventure to initiate the fight against Tango Mango and Kiddo. They took the fight into the water where Tango Mango was not able to survive very long. He ended up dying to the Stonehenge squad, but Kiddo was able to leave. I'm sure we'll see him another day. But since they lost another Stonehenge boy, they wanted any way to get him back. And I found out that they had a hidden stash of cows, which I think this is the only one on the entire server. I told them if they killed every single cow, I would bring back one of their teammates. And if they did this, their enchantment game would go from 0 to 0. But they just decided to go ahead, and I did respawn their teammate, so now they can get back to Stonehenge building. But while that was going on, a raid was started at the village, and it wasn't by the villagers. Remember the speed race and boat guy? Yeah, he started this raid for the village to have to do. He ended up doing the original plan that team had with Bad Omen. And might I say, doing a raid this early on with this little bit of gear, I don't know who's gonna survive. But I guess raids are technically worth it, because if they give me a Totem of Undying, I'll revive some of their teammates. And I think that's a pretty decent trade-off. Only if most of their team didn't die to this raid, which seems to be happening. I actually can't believe that plan worked for the opposing team. I seriously thought they'd be able to handle the raid. Maybe Lit's work is still not over, as the raid hasn't concluded yet. But before it even could, Wilding ran into another member, Kiddo. He was thankfully able to chase him down and get rid of the man who started killing all of Stonehenge. I may have given him an extra life earlier, but after what he did, this was well deserved. Wilding being so far from home let Lit corner off one of the village members, Luca. He chased him down and ended Luca's reign before any of his teammates could help. So that's 2 ups for one of the last remaining members of the Cactus Cult, which means the villagers are now down to 2 players after a non-completed raid. What a detrimental hit to their overall player count. But with Wilding's totem dance, Luca is now back on their team. Let's hope these raids continue to bless the simple village folk. But before the raid could finish, another attack happened upon the village. The Dwarven miners had finally geared up enough to take on another team, and they chose the strongest one to do so. Luca was taken out once more alongside his teammate One Survivor, and the only people left were LFC, KFC, and Wilding once again. However, Negative and Soulslayer didn't let that happen for long. LFC, KFC was cornered in a river and was absolutely slaughtered. But while all of that was happening, Wilding grabbed another totem and respawned One Survivor, which means this team may not be out yet. With the miners' control of the village, they were also able to get another totem and respawn one of their fallen. RUTHLESS has now been re-added to the game, but that reign didn't last very long as one of their members actually drowned to death. I don't have the footage, but that's pretty embarrassing. Then another one was taken out by a Ravager in the house. Now it's all up to Soulslayer and RUTHLESS, who literally just died while entering the village. Okay, never mind. The dwarven miners just took a way bigger hit than I thought. But before fortune could try and smile upon them again, their remaining member was blown up by a creeper. I actually don't understand how this team just wasted such a big lead. However, that leaves one team with a possible rise to power once more. One survivor and Wilding have teamed up with Death and Exern to reform the village team once more. This gives them a 4-man team against any possible rivals, and quite possibly a lot of dogs, which secure their way back to conquer the village. However, with that raid still outstanding, it can be a dangerous venture, especially for Exern, who was killed fighting it off. But with this team's totem lock, the raid was finished pretty quickly and they were able to respawn Exern once more. I wonder how many lives Wilding would have if he just kept all of the totems he keeps using to revive his teammates. Back at Stonehenge, some major progress has been made. We've got the entire platform finished as well as already starting on the second layer. This is proving to be a large project. But if anyone can do it, these guys can, and I cannot wait to see the final result. Back at the Dwarven Miners' home base, we still have one man fighting for their cause. I wonder how big of an impact he'll have on fights ahead. Maybe we'll even see him revive some of his teammates with Totems of Undying. All was quiet until the Nether opened up. The village team was the first to the fortress. Their goal wasn't necessarily to get to the dragon, but to actually get potions. Those can serve you better than totems sometimes. Then Exern decided to go and burn to a crisp without telling anybody. Thanks for the footage, man. However, I suspect we'll see another totem usage pretty soon. While the Nether kids were messing around, LitGamer had a task of his own, starting another raid, getting his own totems, and killing all of Death's dogs. I think killing the Grim Reaper's dogs was not a smart move, but he has allowed himself full access to the village to start his own personal raid, where I'm sure many totems are to come from. However, before you can get some of those, you still have to defend against the village team, who's not too happy that he took over. But under all of our noses, Dino snuck in and stole a totem. Unfortunately, he wasn't fast enough to make it out of the village alive, thus reminding LitGamer and Wilding the possible death they face if they fight each other. They fled from the battle, and LitGamer was actually the one to pick up the totem from Dino. However, this one I believe he's gonna keep. Probably a smart move, since most of his teammates died at the very beginning. Wilding has the opposite thought process though. He did another little totem dance and respawned Exern after the Nether portal trip. This is like the 3rd time this man's been respawned, but maybe we'll see some real skill from him soon. While the respawn happened on one side of the village, LitGamer was also in the village, but just on the other side. He was trying to snag a totem while the villagers were busy, and he was even able to separate an evoker from a Ravager, get the totem, and leave without them even knowing he was there. Once he was in the clear, he revived one of his teammates and gave him pants. After all this time, I feel like LitGamer would have a second set of gear in case his broke, but I guess not. However, maybe we're finally seeing the rise of the Cactus Cult. I think I spoke too soon. Lit went back into the village and accidentally finished the raid, alerting the villagers to his exact position. From there, all 4 of them started chasing him down. Honestly, I am not sure how he's gonna escape this one. I mean, he even popped a totem thanks to fall damage, but he could still make it out alive. He was able to boat all the way to the border, but not without being followed. The village team was able to get rid of his boat and bring the fight underwater. From there, one survivor absolutely comboed him before he had to back away. He made it to land but was able to juke out the competition and return to the water. He even somehow managed to get back to the village. Probably not the best idea. Looks like his entire goal was just to return back to the Iceland, giving him the exact speed boost that he needs to outwit the other team. He made it all the way past the ice rivers and submerged underwater before anyone could find him. Little did Wilding know, he just passed right over top of him. LitGamer not only juked the other team, but he also juked all of my admins watching. Maybe there's hope for him yet. Village team regrouped back at base to figure out what was their next plan of action, especially since LitGamer is probably the only person they have to face left. Back at Stonehenge, we're seeing amazing progress. These guys have been very persistent at literally only building this thing, but there might be a plan brewing. I think we might see some of the iffy pacifists go to war pretty soon. However, I'm more into just watching Stonehenge. Back at the village, Wilding started his own battle call, motivating his troops to win the event. At that same time, LitGamer was actually stalking outside the village. And with Wilding sending his troops to go outside and patrol the village, they ran into him instantly. The hunt began once more for LitGamer's head. He used the exact same ice pathways he did before, trying to escape just as how we had seen prior. However, when he went underwater and dug down underneath the igloo, he left one dirt block, which is the only way you could distinguish where he had went. Exern, one of the village folk, had actually stumbled upon that exact dirt block and started mining down from there. At that time, LitGamer had already made a pitfall trap right into some spikes. But that didn't scare Wilding. Even though he almost fell into it, some water saved his life and he was able to float down safely. From there, he followed the cobblestone that LitGamer was using to try and escape through pathways he was making, but it wasn't enough. Wilding found LitGamer and started the fight in a 1-by-1 hole. Lit, not expecting anyone to find him, started off really slow. His totem was popped pretty quickly and he didn't have any more. By the time he could even focus on the fight, Wilding had already killed him, which means he technically died twice. Unfortunately, that means the end of the Cactus Cult. But there is still one more team the village has to kill before they can go into their final FFA, who at this point seems to actually be gearing up for their own little mini war. I think it's about time we see these quote-unquote pacifists go to the village and start their own fights. But before that could happen, Wilding had his very own selfish plan. He went to the pillager outpost with one of his teammates and got Bad Omen. This would start another raid, which would allow him to have a lot more totems and get more lives for the final duel, instead of using those totems to revive teammates. They went back to the village and the raid had started. Little did they know that lurking in the forest near were the pacifists. Since it was only technically Death and Wilding in the village, they thought they could probably take him after they got hit by the raid a little bit. And exactly that happened. Death had just died to a Vindicator, so all three of them rushed in to take on Wilding. But just at that moment, GSupps had made it to the village and started to help in the fight. Titan was early on killed by the raid, followed by his teammate Lil Z, who died to Wilding. Forced to run away from all of the chaos, Chief Lamar made it to the tree line but was followed close behind. He too didn't make it far before he died to the village team, which only leaves the real pacifists over at Stonehenge and the villagers. At that point, Wilding made the executive decision to have the overall FFA fight at the finished Stonehenge, which looks amazing, I might add. Everyone showed up at Stonehenge for the final battle. No longer do teams matter in this scenario. It is 1 versus 1 versus 1. How many people are here? Anyway, I added everyone to a call and I went ahead and counted it down. 3, 2, 1, go! Each player started in not knowing who to go for. Bacon tried to outrun the diamond players but didn't last long. At that point, one survivor in Wilding made a truce to gang up on Death. He seemed super prepared at the very beginning, but a 2 vs 1 is still almost impossible. He survived the firefight long enough for Extern to come and save the day. We now have a natural 2v2 on our hands. Death taking on Wilding didn't end too well. He pearled away but ended up dying to fall damage. Guess it was left up to Extern, or quite possibly just Wilding turning on his own teammate, which was one survivor's downfall in the FFA. But Wilding wasn't done yet. Lucas seemed to be his next target. However, that short fight allowed Extern to regain confidence against fighting Wilding, which I can say didn't end too well. For anyone, as a matter of fact. After the kill on Luca, there was only one player remaining, although it was almost impossible for him to take out Wilding, thus resulting in his quick and untimely death. That means Wilding just beat out 99 other players to win the free-for-all event. If you want to participate in upcoming events, join the Discord down below, hit that like button, as well as subscribe to the channel. Other than that, have a great rest of your day.